Thank you. Excellent. Very good. Well, good morning, gentlemen. We're going to officially get kicked off here. Tom and DC have me presenting today, which I appreciate that privilege, and also hosting as well. So what I'm going to be talking about today is I started my layout process, planning, deciding, and all that number. And I want to give you basically a progress of that, going along, show you where I got a lot of my information, give you my ideas and mindset, and go from there. Please feel free to ask questions as we go through here. We'll probably have a good small group, so that'll be good. And let's see here. First of all, can you all see my PowerPoint Manassas junction and station layout process?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. When I started thinking about a layout, I was determined to do something in Virginia. Okay, because I love that area. I drive through all the time because we own property up in Connecticut. I get to see all the areas. I've been to every last one of the places I'm going to talk about right now. Manassas, Harpers Ferry, Winchester, and the Shenandoah Valley. Been to all the battlefields in the region that you can think of, especially, the major ones considering. I've been to City Point. And so, had a good idea of the geography and what I'd like to do. And so as I got going with that, I whittled it down to 3 options: Harpers Ferry, Baltimore and Ohio, and the Winchester and Potomac lines. Probably Harpers Ferry being the centerpiece of that. I love the geography. It's it's got all that history from John Brown on through to Jackson's siege.
Yep.
To everything. City Point. And there was a lot of documentation for Harpers Ferry and everything like that. City Point, obviously, the hugest logistics supply depot during the Civil War. Still, the curve where the locomotive house is and the turntable and all those familiar areas was small enough to have a layout situation that I could handle. And then Manassas Junction. The Manassas Junction was definitely small enough. The junction and its station, as I will reiterate throughout the meeting, is only a half-mile area. It only covers a half mile. Okay, so that was definitely small enough. Also, it had the advantage of being both along with Harpers, not along with Harpers Ferry. What am I saying? Let me correct that right away. But it had the advantage of being a Confederate situation, railroad, whatever you wanted to bring into it. And, from Manassas Gap Railroad to the Virginia Central Railroad, and of course the USMRR. So lots of options there. And so I started to look at maps, geography as well to get overall layouts. I came up with this one to give you the localized area of Northern Virginia. Well, really, it's Southern Virginia up to Northern Virginia. As you can tell, here's Richmond down here, in case you're having difficulty seeing that map. We've got DC and Alexandria up here. And then the lines are all in color for you. So the orange is the orange in Alexandria, extending down to Gordonsville and skipping on the Virginia Central as well, heading on south to Lynchburg. You have the red one, which is the Alexandria, Loudoun, and Hampshire line. Pardon me, let me get my cursor back into gear here. Up here by the Potomac. And of course, Manassas Gap in yellow at, of course, the Manassas Junction here between the O&R line and the Manassas Gap line here. Okay. The pink is Virginia Central. The green is the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac.
Wow. So
we've got the Virginia area here. This is North Chesapeake Bay to the east. Come on, where is it, Rossi? There it is right here, Shenandoah. Well, no, it's not the Shenandoah. Yeah, it is the Shenandoah right here to the west. And of course, North Carolina in the south.
What's that lime one at the bottom right?
You know, you had to ask that, didn't you, Walter?
Good eye, Walter.
Did I identify it, Walter? Quit asking questions I don't know about, okay?
Well,
I forgot which one that one is. Is that the, it goes to North Fork. So is that the Richmond North Fork? Or, no, it's Petersburg North Fork, right?
Yes.
Good. And I guess the north, what is the north-south one? The light purple one heading south from Richmond. That goes to Raleigh, I believe.
Richmond's Petersburg Railroad?
Would Georgia have gone up that tall? Do the states, or do they?
And I think this is the turquoise one, I think is the South Railroad, if I remember correctly. That goes to Danville.
That's Richmond and Danville.
Is that the Richmond Danville? Good.
That's Richmond. Yeah.
But that lime green one is interesting. Okay, that was cool. Well done. I like how you added the colors, man. That's helps so much in trying to visualize this.
Yeah, well, it was a map I found, so it was nice and lucky. And I found it this morning. So no miracles occurred there. All right. Centering in, getting very centered in on Manassas, I began to do research on our site. And back in 2005, a couple of gentlemen, one was researching it, the other was helping him. So good collaboration from the group. And they found this map, which you can find on the LOC website, the Library of Congress website. It's a part of the atlas, the large Civil War atlas of all the battlefields and everything. And when you look at it in the atlas, it's extremely small. I mean, you barely can notice the little nibs here of the station and the junction. All right. So the guy who was helping the other one out, who was thinking about doing Manassas station junction area, blew up this portion. Pardon me, let me get the cursor back into gear. This portion of the Manassas Gap, the Manassas Junction, which is this, I'm about to show you the blow up here in a minute. The Manassas Junction is here. Here's the Manassas Station. This main line right here is the orange in Alexandria, heading on from the east, heading west here, meeting up at the junction, the first junction, when it was known as Tudor Hall, to the, come on, cursor, Here's the Manassas Gap Railroad heading northwest to Thoroughfare Gap in the Shenandoah Valley. Come on, cursor. And here's the Orange Alexandria heading southwest to Catlett Station, Bristow Station, Gordonsville, ultimately with a spur off of it to Warrington. Now, let me move on to the next one. So we blew up
Whoa.
the junction. This is the junction with the upper, see how this has two rails here? The northern rail and the southern rail. The southern rail is, by the way, this is once again south, east, north, and west. The southern rail is the O&R main line. The northern rail right here is Manassas Gap. When it finally makes its turn north, this is the Confederate, the military Confederate rail line that went to Centerville, Virginia. And that's the one that continues northeast. This one that is south of that Confederate rail line, I believe, is an extension of the O&R to sort of resupply the area there, the localized junction area there. And that's the junction area. Please, question.
The dotted lines, is that for, roads? Like foot?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Walter. The dotted lines are dirt roads. I doubt they're macadamized like the Shenandoah was. I'm sure they're dirt. Let's see here. Let me look at the, let me get a view going here for a second here so I can get, oh, come on. No, it's not going to work this time. No problem. All right. Please feel free to interject questions. Now, as you can tell, I have the map has the scale up here. So this is 1/4 of a mile. And you can see this right-hand side station area. This is what I call Manassas Station. Is less than 1/2 mile. And the junction area is less than 1/2 mile. It's there like about 1/4 mile each, total being approximately 1/2 mile. So it's a nice small condensed area. And as I'm going to show later that these lines are actually very close to each other. Where on this drawing, if you went by direct scale, no, they wouldn't be close to each other. But I believe they are very close to each other in the actual station and junction area. Are we all oriented here? Is there anybody who still has maybe an orientation question where we are at here with the junction and the station? Everybody good? All right. So obviously I chose Manassas, and I came up with a first concept that I wanted. And the first concept was Manassas to Thoroughfare Gap, a large L. And I had a room that was, the dimensions are about 12.5 feet by 9 feet 6 inches. So the dimension layout where I have here on number 1, dimensions upper L Well, what I mean is the long portion of the L there. I decided to make 12 feet by 40 inches wide, 12 feet long, 40 inches wide. In the lower L section, or the small section, 9.5 feet by 40 inches wide. That would give me on the turns a 18-inch radius. And so I was, I was concerned about the size of the room. Big L, one corner of the room, right? Or actually several corners of the room. So fit in the room with some area to move. So I'd have space to move around and build, be in the room at the same time as the railroad layout. Now, at this point of the planning, DC, heard about my project and volunteered to go over it with me. He has AnyRail software, and I gave him my dimensions. We spent a little time doing that. We'll talk about that sometime later, but we spent a little time doing that. And we had a little trouble matching up the software with my switches and the type of track I wanted to use. And the type of track I chose Atlas Flex Track and turnouts, code 100. That meets my track building skills. I'm not going to play around. I don't know how to lay track. I'm sure we've got guys out here who would probably enthusiastically help me, but I'd rather just do something I can handle on my own when I get into trouble, And so when I got going with that, I found out that I needed some more space, the space that I was using. So I chose some shorter Hornby turnouts to fit the layout on the board a little bit better. And what I did was I literally got on the floor of my house and laid track down to see if this would fit my mathematical measurements. And happily it did very nicely. That's when I, first tried to use the 9-inch Atlas size 4 turnouts, it wasn't fitting. But when I used the 6.5-inch shorter Hornby turnouts, it fit perfectly. Let me know if I'm going too fast, guys. Literally, somebody tell me to slow down here.
I assume your HO scale?
Correct. Thank you, Walter. I should have specified that earlier. Yes, sir. I don't want to get into this deeply. This is the general layout drawing that I created of that first concept. This is the station portion of the Manassas Gap Railroad. Let me go back here. It's this portion, of the ONR. Actually, I believe this was shared by both the ONR and the Manassas Gap. All of this was. And so this was the part I tried to do in the initial concept of on the long portion of the L. As you can see, it's the L on its side. Here's the thoroughfare gap area. I would have, I would have had raised areas on probably both sides here, because the thoroughfare gap, when you look at it geographically, has sort of a curved area going through it, and then it sort of wraps around as the Manassas Gap Railroad continues on. And then I had it loop back here at a turnout up here. But then the DC factor stepped in, okay? Now, when DC decided to help me, and boy, I really appreciated it, He volunteered to help, and he suggested an alternative layout because I was talking about space concerns. I was talking about being able to utilize the room, and he goes, "Well, you know, you could try this concept." And the concept he suggested was an island concept, and that's with a backdrop partition in the middle of the layout, dividing it into 2 different locations as desired. Now, if I sound like I'm teaching a kindergarten class, I want to make sure that there's somebody out there who needs to hear it in plain language and clarify exactly what I was doing. And I chose the Manassas Junction and station as the 2 sides. He also suggested widening the layout so I could create those 2 sides. And that was the perfect idea because I already knew by laying down the track on the floor that the station could fit within that 2-foot parameter, and the junction would definitely do it. So we changed the layout size to 10 feet by 6 feet and 4 feet wide, 10 feet by 6 inches long, 4 feet wide table work. And I'm going to have a foldable frame and casters so I can move the thing around in that room so I can get to both sides of it when I feel like getting to both sides of it. Any questions on that, guys? Feel free to interject, please. Okay, I'm hearing the crickets out there. All right, this is the layout drawing I came up with for the island concept. What I believe presently to be my final concept. Presently, you have a clear view on the lower side of the picture of Manassas Junction. One side, okay? This is here. If looking at this, looking at the Manassas Junction on the lower side of the picture you're looking at with that center partition being right here. This is the east side of the junction where the station is geographically located. This is the west side of the junction, which heads toward the west side of the junction with the Confederate line, the military line right here, and the ONA, extension. This heading west to the Manassas Gap and ONR original junction, okay, of the railroad. And so we have the sidings that are very close to the junction between the ONR and the Confederate line. And then we have that outcropping there and the Confederate line. I mean, that's basically it on that. You can tell if you want to get that detailed, here's a 9-inch Atlas right-hand 100 code HO switch. I even give the footage of the siding. Here's the footage of the main line. Here's the footage of the dead end siding along the junction area. And I don't have any structures up here yet. I didn't add that in yet. There is, if I remember correctly, a structure here. And there's a platform looking thing here, which we may have in a photograph later on.
Hey, Roger, I got a thought.
Please.
So your extension that's going up for the Confederate Military Railroad.
I think I know it's coming.
You might, where it dead ends into the partition.
Correct.
what is the possibility of creating like a tunnel and then hiding a staging track on the underside of there with a hill on Manassas Station side?
To be considered at a later date, George. Yes,
Okay.
that is a nub that I'm like, that's just sticking in the brain there, okay? That yes, I am seriously considering that. I am not experienced. I know that if I put them together, that's going to cause a short right in between them. But you can still do that. I just need to know how to do the wiring.
No, I wasn't referring to coming into the station. I was talking about hiding it on the other side of that partition with the hill, and it be an off railroad staging yard or staging track so that you can hide a train and then bring it out so that during operations, you can bring out a train, have it meet at the O&A, and then do your transfers there, and then somehow run around and then go back into the hidden staging. So it's basically going to parallel your other track that you have paralleling the backdrop, but instead of just dead ending, it's going to go through and under. And then on the other side, the Manassas Station side, you're going to create a slight hill that will then hide it visually so that you won't ever see it on Manassas Station side. And so basically it becomes a tunnel, so to speak, in there that you can hide a train for staging so that you can have the arrival of it as part of the operation.
George, how dare you suggest something so damn brilliant that I have not thought of yet, that now I'm going to really be thinking about that one.
Well, I will say that I'm an operations guy. And so one of the things that like I'm looking at, if I build a diorama, I know I won't be happy with stationary stuff. So I'm trying to think of a ways to implement some form of operation and being able to interchange rather than just have a train stationed there. Now you can actually bring it in and simulate it running late or whatever else. Just brings a little element of more into it.
Damn, George, that's a beautiful idea. I'm wondering, okay, what I'm grappling with right now that you brought that up is the geography of the area. But man,
because you could do a slight hill on the Manassas Station side or put some really thick trees to really hide that other track, and it would basically parallel that other one so that it's off site on the Manassas Junction side, and then it's hidden by a slight hill on the Manassas Station side.
Without a doubt, or just a rising ridge, a rising ridge from.
Yes. Yep.
From that area.
Bingo.
Yeah.
There actually were not too many trees at the site at the time, so that's just
well, okay.
Roger, for your preferences.
Right, exactly. But what you can still do with it, and pardon me, gentlemen, I'm a theater teacher, so I'm going to use some theater language here. In theater, you have a raked stage. The part that is close to the audience, the front of the stage, is called the downside stage. The backstage area is called, the part furthest from the audience is called the upstage area. There's a reason for that. The back was higher on a raked stage and the front was lower. Hence, down in the front, up in the back. I could literally, here, let me see if from here to there, approximately, have a rising ridge, the ridge being here and low here, and just angle the foam up to that, covering this whole area. And there'll be this space in between the partition and the field area.
With styrofoam, you could also, depending, you got something like 1/2-inch styrofoam, you can actually put a removable scenic cover over a staging area in that area.
Okay.
Let's say you had your an entrenchment or redoubt up there or something.
Right.
You can have actually like a screw and coming up from underneath the phone and like into a stump, and you use that stump as a handle because it should be light enough to put on or remove. Anyways,
Okay. I like
idea
that
for
idea.
future.
Yeah, I like that idea too, because I'm thinking about some other things that I will discuss further down the line when I do an update on this.
You have
Okay,
an
I got another slight thought to be able to hide it too. What
Okay.
about making two backdrops separate? So in this case, I don't know how well you guys can see that on the camera here, but if you split that backdrop a little bit, it'll take a little bit fancy woodworking to get it, but then you could basically hide it between two backdrops and still have full access to it from the end.
That's a thought.
I'm
Keep
just throwing
the
out
depth-
ideas. I like the
Divide-
raised,
yeah,
I like your
divide
raised
the
hillside.
backdrop. Yeah.
Yeah, I like your raised hillside, but this is just another option.
Yes. No, and I'm glad you're suggesting them, George, because it gets me thinking. And you've already added an element that I'm like, I got to do something about that because I would love that. And I've already thought about connecting this line to this, but it was never very satisfying because of the layout dynamic.
Well, and you'd run into your wiring issues that you were talking about, but those are not physically connected in the real world, so we wouldn't physically connect them on the layout.
Precisely.
Well,
Now,
also from your drawing at Manassas Junction, I didn't see any crossovers or switches going from the O&A up to the Manassas line. Did you have a turnout so you can join those two lines?
which two lines, Walter?
At the very bottom, between the Orange and Alexandria and the upper, whatever that, the Manassas.
Good,
yeah, right
Walter.
there.
Thank you, Walter. That is, okay, now what Walter is talking about is this upper line right here.
Yeah.
North of the main O&R line. The Manassas Gap Railroad paralleled at this point the O&R Railroad. And then when the Confederate line was built, it was connected to the Manassas Gap line here. Oh, come on, cursor. There it is, right here. So it just rolled up like this. Does that make sense, Walter?
Yeah, but it wasn't connected to the
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's get to that.
Okay.
No, I'm going to answer Walter's question here. Let me get back to another picture. Okay, where is it, Rossi? There it is. Okay, Walter, look over here to the far left of the picture where the Manassas Gap comes down. There is the switch connecting it to the O&R line right here.
Okay.
Okay, so a locomotive had the option on staying on the Manassas Gap line to the north of the O&R and head over to the Confederate Railroad and go up to Centerville, or it could switch at that point to the O&R to go to the junction area and the shared station area. Does that answer your question, Walter?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
So while you're there, if you don't mind, I got real quick thought. So if this comes down off the Confederate Railroad to hit that junction yard, they would have to travel all that way over to the other junction on the other side, pass the switch, and then back down into that yard to drop and pick up cars. and then turn there and then back up to the junction and then head out to head north.
Yeah, to get back to the station. Yes. Okay, what George just said, to get a visual on it, if it went up this way and the train conductor, the engineer says, yeah, got to get back to the station. He'd have to come down, head across here, undo the switch, hit the O&R line, and then come back to the station. Yes, George, correct. But if he had to dump off a load or drop off troops, I believe this half rectangular section right here is a platform that I believe we have photographic evidence of later on.
And what's
Okay.
that angle thing in between the two?
Okay, I'll get to that.
Okay,
Yeah, good question, Walter. That's going to be definitely a huge portion of the discussion. Okay, let me see if I can get where I was before. Good, Manassas Junction, great. Now let's flip. Okay, so this is, okay, this right here, the junction, I blew up just that section. Okay, once again, the 3 sidings on the south side of the junction, the dead end siding, the main O&R line, and the upper siding here. Then you have that O&R extension that went to the north and then dead end on a short distance heading east. And then the Manassas Gap Railroad heading up the Confederate line. And then the platform. This, Walter, as you asked about just a moment ago, is what I'm calling a V, or even a W if you have a couple of them. Redoubt, fortress, battle state, raised abutment without abatis, as I will show later on. This is the same type of trenches they would build later on every time that either army stopped to defend itself with abatis when they were especially around a lot of wood. Any questions, please? And you guys who don't talk, I'm going to be asking you to talk later on. I want feedback. Okay, so I turned the layout picture to the other side so you can see the station area. So this is the Manassas layout drawing the station side, the Manassas station side. Once again, this will be the east. This will be the west. So the junction is to the west of the station. Now, yes, I have shrunk the station. Okay. If I tried to do this in scale, I'd have to have it 24 feet long, probably just to do the station. Okay, because it's a 1/4 mile long. But in order to get the footage to fit, and once again, as I said earlier, I laid all of this track down to see if it fit, and it does, happily. Here's that 6.5 inch Hornby right-hand turn switch, code 100 switch. This is a Hornby Y. It's also 6.5 inches. And this, whoa, stop. This is a 3-inch straight extension right here. Right after that is a 9-inch right-hand turn Atlas that heads up into the turntable here. This Y has what we found out later, a possible dead end or maybe ripped up track here that as we will see in pictures later on, doesn't quite get to the turntable rim. this track extends over and beyond the turntable just north of it. Very close, though, as I believe I'll be able to show in photographic evidence. And I believe these buildings up here are possibly in the photographs, but I don't have perfect documentation for that. This is the other side of the station. Now, in the station picture, let me show that real quick. This is where I believe the turntable is, right here. My original estimation, and I'll show you why I'll show you a picture later on why I believe this is the turntable area, because I have the famous Manassas turntable pictures. I originally thought the turntable was here so that a train could come up here, be turned, and then get on this line, head back out, go back east. I believe, but I have no documentation written, that this is an engine, a locomotive house. You will also take note of this longer and thinner rectangular structure here. It's also another outcropping from this sighting here. I believe it is a car repair shop, but I have once again no confirmation. No designations were written on the original picture or anything like that. So what I decided to do for space, though, because I specifically wanted the turntable, was I deleted the car. The car repair shop. Left this as, since there's only one rail going into it, according to at least the drawing, which we don't have photographic evidence to the west of the turntable. The locomotive house, the locomotive house right here. And then I was thinking, let's connect it to the track over here, where the car repair shop would be. So the trains can come in and out. But, you know, that's what I'm thinking. That all fits. And I'll probably custom build this locomotive house here based on photographic evidence, probably set in the Alexandria train yard because it's also an O&R train yard. Does that all make sense, guys? Any questions, please? I can't believe I'm that clear.
Is it
Oh,
one-
I thought you were doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
BTS has some nice engine houses if you want a little better than scratch.
Right. Right. No, I looked them over,
Yeah.
and I'll keep looking them over until I make that final decision to go with scratch or go with them. Because no doubt about it, they'll be spot on or close to it. Okay. Now, I guess I'll move on from there. If there are no, oh, yeah, this little section right here from where the loop around rejoins with that siding just to the north of the main line, from here to the switch is shortened. I'll show you. Wrong way, sorry. There we go. This section is longer. Here's a switch right here to the switch back to the main line. And I shortened it to get the space. Yeah. And then of course it moves towards the junction. from here, heading west. Okay, there's no more questions on that.
Roger.
There. Go ahead.
Roger.
Yes, Dave, please.
Back to that layout drawing there on the left side,
Yes, sir.
the part you were just talking about, where you shortened and put two switches back to back. I would be a bit concerned about an S-curve situation there that could cause operational problems. If I were doing this, I would take the switch where you shorten it and shorten it even more, and have two switches essentially right together at the left end. Yeah, right there. So
Right
where you-
here?
yeah,
Right
where you
here, correct?
Pardon?
Right here, correct?
Yeah, I've moved that to the left.
Pardon me, let me get the cursor right here. Okay,
Yeah,
this
move that
is
to
a
the left
9-inch. Okay,
and-
I
and
think
convert that.
I may answer your question, Dave. I may not. Please verify for me. First of all, this is a 9-inch switch right here.
Mhm.
This is a 6-inch extension right here. This is a 9-inch switch
Okay.
for this to go up north here. And this is a 9-inch switch directly after this 9-inch switch. Is that what you would do, or or were you suggesting something else, Dave?
I would suggest taking the left-hand 9-inch switch. That's a
Is
left.
this the left?
yeah,
I'm
that
sorry,
switch.
Dave. Is this the left-hand one you're talking
Yeah,
about? or
that's the one. That's the one. And make
This
it,
one.
yeah, move it to the left and change it from a left-hand switch to a right-hand switch.
Well, then that would go down
I
into
think
this
that-
line.
Dave, I think that 6 inches is going to be more than enough to be able to help alleviate any stress from an S curve. Because that
Yeah.
6 inches more than one car length.
One of the things that Roger's trying to do is balance reliability, functionality with fidelity to the prototype. And I think that's why he decided on this particular configuration.
That is accurate.
Because Dave, if I was doing it, I would go with your suggestion, but this gives a little bit more fidelity to the prototype. And I think that's why he went with it. And since George says it should work, excellent.
Well, the other side of it too is, and I mean, and this is where we start getting into some special trackage pieces where we have curved turnouts. And I know you're going with an 18-inch radius, so that would mean a smaller. But if you extended that out and joined on the curve, because that extension piece that we're talking about is actually equal to roughly a train length, so that you can pull out the industries behind you without fouling the main and do your work without fouling the main. But we have to do compromises in model railroading. So I think that 6 inches is going to be more than enough to alleviate any S-curve issues. Because the biggest challenges with S-curves, it's not necessarily that we don't think the equipment's going to go, but it has to do with the strain on the couplers, especially if you're running 50 and 60-foot cars, because those cars are turning on that S-curve and those couplers only have so much give. We're not using that, and you do have a 6-inch gap there. So I think this layout is going to be just fine.
I'm going to use a piece of flex track for it too, for that 6 inches. So I can modulate the curvature there.
George, you have a good suggestion, I think. If I'm looking at the diagram correctly, if I look at the words Manassas Station written there and just go to the left, all the way to the left from Manassas Station, I see right there, yeah, where your cursor is, I see what looks like a piece of straight track there.
You are absolutely correct, Dave.
And that piece of straight track could actually become a switch, a left-hand switch. That left-hand switch could then have a line parallel, sort of a double track around that curve that could represent that extension in the prototype.
Okay. First of all, Dave, you
Yeah.
are pinpoint correct, but that belongs to the junction. Let me go back to that, Dave.
Okay.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was forgetting that. Okay, Dave, here's the junction, right? Here's the Confederate line, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just as you said, Dave, That's a 9-inch switch right here. So I can have the double Manassas O&R line as you suggested, Dave.
I
Does
think
that
he
make
was
sense?
talking about doing essentially the same thing, but on the other curve coming out of Manassas Station, headed towards the junction.
Okay, let me justify why I do not want to do that based upon the line, because here, this
Put a turnout on that tangent section of track, and then you have the single line from the from that switch around to the junction. So
okay, I get it. This time I get it.
Okay.
Okay, now let's see if I can explain this correctly. All right, here's the station, correct? It is east of the junction, correct?
yeah, I see
Okay.
that.
Okay, good. No, I'm not trying to be insulting in any way. I'm making a point here. Here is the station, which is east of the junction, correct?
Yes,
So the junction is over here, right?
correct. That's the west side of your Manassas Station.
Precisely. Now, that connection goes, looking at this picture, goes directly into the junction, right?
Correct, but right where
From
your
east
cursor's
to
at,
west.
right,
Okay,
but right
good.
where your cursor is, if you go up to that top curvature there, they're right there. There's
Yes.
your straight track. And then
Correct.
as you come around, he's talking about doing a switch on that tangent, the straight section on the curve. And then now you have the extension that you have. So Manassas Station is more quote unquote accurately done. And then you still have your single track a section. Now, this is going to depend on how long you want your straight track or your solo track. Ultimately, I don't think it'll make a big difference one way or the other, but that's what I think he was suggesting, was if you throw the turnout on that straight section there between Manassas Station and the junction, so that way you have your switching lead coming out, you'd lose some of that S curve-ish on that curve, and then you still have your straight section or your solo section of track.
Can I make a couple
Understood.
points? Can I make a couple points?
Yeah, it's
Roger, I think what Dave's talking about, if you go down to the, down there with that 6-inch piece is,
yes, sir.
take out, you take that turnout, you
Yes.
take it out, and you move it
No,
up
this is
to the,
take out this turnout, correct?
move that turnout to the upper left hand right there, and then on the prototype, that's a straight rail, right? Where the two
Yes.
lines are, but here you would have it curving rather than straight.
Oh,
So
damn.
you'd have two parallel tracks curving that straight. If you're putting the turnouts in where you're talking, there's switches in where you're talking about,
Yes.
because we had talked off group about maybe making this in 2 sections.
Yes.
We can make it so the 2 sections bolt together, but you probably will not be unbolting it unless you're moving it or somebody in your estate's trying to move it.
Right. Okay. I am now enlightened. Dave. That's an awesome, I get it now. That is an awesome suggestion. It's another mind-blowing one like George's. Oh my God, I never thought of this. Okay, I get it now because Dave is still trying to honor the prototypical layout. Here, let me get back to it. Dave is saying on the curve, on my curve, that is, of the actual layout, I get to keep the length here, right?
Yep,
Yep. And then that meets right at that straight track at the partition.
yep.
That's it.
Fantastic.
Great idea, Dave.
Oh my God, Dave.
Thanks, guys, for explaining it.
Touchdown, Dave. Because, and I already have that on the opposite side. And I didn't even think about it for the, oh my God. Okay. That's done. That is so freaking done.
Roger, this is fun watching you.
Oh my God, this is great though, guys. I mean, when I thought, frankly, I was comfortable with what I have, George and Dave makes me even more comfortable with it. DC, you ought to be happy too, because now I get to blame George and Dave when I get this off.
And not just me. All right, that sounds
I've
great.
got 3 people to blame now. And I get to make my railroad the way I want it, even better than it was before.
Well, and the good thing is then your partition, your scene block doesn't have to go all the way to the end on that one side. So that now you can scenic the whole way around. And then on the other side, it'll break it off so that it shows how that layout would then unfold.
Yeah, right.
Well, it'll be interesting when Roger talks about his backdrop. I'm sure that's later in the presentation.
Oh, yes. That's inbound now. Are there any other questions? Man, oh my God. I should be the one having questions now. All right. Oh, God, that is fantastic. Okay, Raj, get out of this. You got to go back to the presentation. Here we go. All right. Now I put them side by side. Okay. As you can tell, here, pardon me. Once again, the junction, once again, the station. Hopefully I'm grinding that in too hard. If I am, I do apologize. Effectively, what I did was fold, in this case, well, okay, looking at the picture I have there, I folded the station over on top of the junction for a mirror effect, per se. And what Tom, of course, had to suggest, needless to say, so I obviously got to include Tom to blame him too. He suggested, oh yeah, Raj, just unfold that puppy and have a long line of it together if you ever wanted to move it around. And you know, yes, I thought about that too. So I can't completely blame Tom. He's off the hook. And it's an idea, and boy, am I going to have to think about that too.
Tom, quit smiling so much. I see.
He's got that shit-eating grin on because he knows he's got me by the ball hairs here on it. Okay, so, and now I'm showing you with the Manassas station upright so that you can get the comparative views. And yes, you bet your asses I'll be revising this drawing with the improvements later on. Okay, now let's get to the backdrop here. It says backdrop partition options, paint or use historic photographs. Now, this is where I get to put Tom and DC in their place. Oh, I can't wait.
Whoa.
All right, hang on, just hold on to your ass. I'll get there. Okay, now I put up this painting because God knows it's beautiful. I know some of you guys know who did this. You probably even know him, met him, shook his hand. And, you know, it's just beautiful. It's his interpretation of Manassas,
Junction.
I guess the junction, station, wherever.
It says Manassas Junction on it.
All right, let's go with the junction. And because the Confederate Railroad was not built, but yet I don't see the junction of the Manassas Gap portion. Nonetheless, It's his interpretation, and we'll go with it. And it's beautiful. Okay. So you're looking at that going, God, this is beautiful. I'd love to do just this, you know? And then, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm not an artist. Now, so what about historic pictures that are documented as being at Manassas? Okay. Put them as the partition backdrop. Yeah, in black and white, like a museum effect. I go to, you know, as we all do when we're near them, we go to the Civil War museums. I've seen 1,000 times, you know, historic photographs blown up behind artifacts. You're looking at Robert E. Lee's uniform at the surrender of Appomattox. The photograph in the back is Robert E. Lee, Brady's photograph of him and maybe his 2 sons, where Lee's looking thoroughly pissed off after his recent defeat. And, you know, and you have the artifact down below and you have the backdrop of the photographs. We've all seen that. So that's what I began to think about. Now, let me get Tom and DC straightened out here first so we can move on with life. Everybody knows about the famous PBS artist that with the big poofy hair. His name is Alan Ross.
Right.
Not Rossi.
Right.
Okay, you guys were saying Alan Rossi when we had our discussion.
I deny that assertion.
Tom, I'll let you deny it. Anyway, that was fun. Now, okay, so here we go. The Manassas turntable in the station photos, and I would place them behind the turntable. Here, look at the photo to the left. I'm sure most of us are familiar with them, but let's identify things here. Here is the turntable, right here. DC kindly clarified for me that this middle vertical straight up and down piece is the location of the, what is it, the vertex, the center of the bridge, whatever you want to call, center of the turntable, the midpoint, thank you. Right down here, I believe, is the rim of the turntable to the right of the turntable with the track. Here is the left portion of the rim over here. This track goes directly into the northern siding above the main O&R line. It's, I believe, this track right here. Here's the station. Here's where I believe the turntable is. Here's the track heading into that northern siding of the main O&R line. There we go, into that northern siding. Here is the dead end track, or as Tom suggested, especially since this picture is taken after Jackson's thorough going over of this area, possibly ripped up track was right here, leading in to the turntable rim. It's a possibility. Also, I remember seeing some pictures of the turntable at City Point with loose rail to the side of it, whereby they could perhaps connect a line heading towards the turntable with that loose rail that hasn't quite made it to the turntable. But that's another suggestion, theory, guess. All right. Now, right here is more track going by. I believe this portion of the line, pardon me, wrong way, is this section of the station track right here. Directly due north of the turntable. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
You guys are fantastic. Whoa, Rossi, get it going the correct way. Wrong, not yet. There we go. Now, note that the locomotive here is still located in this picture along the same section of the rail right next to the upper siding from the main O&R line, which I believe we see a rail of here. I believe that. I may be wrong, but I believe that is the main O&R, pardon me, let me get the cursor on it. A portion in that corner of the main O&R line. And probably, and the camera may be placed directly on the track there, facing here. Let me get back to the station picture, if I can figure that out again. It may be, the camera may be like approximately right here, maybe further back, heading north, pointed northeast. Come on, cursor. Head it, pardon me, back over here, heading northeast, maybe. It's a theory based upon the angle that we have. Rossi, get back to the correct photo on the photo. That's a guess, okay? Note how these two stacks here have lower base foundational framing here. And there's another smaller stack with more framing back there. It's possible, but I can't guarantee this, that it's these two buildings up here. It's possible, but I can't guarantee it. Okay? But I'm kind of going with that. And that's about it for that. Are there any questions about this section? And I would place these pictures side by side, just like this, behind the turntable area.
Roger,
Yes.
on that image on the right,
Yes.
between the two stacks and the smaller single stack, oh, you're almost there. Move your cursor just about a half inch to your right. Looks like almost like an end of a box. No, I'm sorry, left. My your other
problem.
right. Okay, you're to your left, right there. That almost looks, it's hard for me to tell. It almost looks like the end of a box car. I was wondering if you can get a higher resolution.
Okay, hang on. Tom had me on the Zoom earlier with his excellent training. Zoom in.
Yeah.
Let me hit that. I think it's the corner of the foundation of that building up there. It's the corner, DC. That's
Okay.
more brick extending down.
Okay.
And you can see, this is an opening here. You can see brick on the opposite side.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
I
those
just
are
wasn't
square
sure.
stacks. Look, they're square stacks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be damned. I thought they were round.
no.
And that's a fence back there.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And there's another hearth there on the left front.
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
Yep.
A building which we don't see in the photograph, in the map. Wait a minute, Rossi, come on now. Yeah, there's no building over there.
That could actually be a smokestack for our chimney hearth for one of those two buildings up there.
Yep,
Connected to them?
yep.
Connected to them, you're thinking, DC?
Yeah, connected with those. But on this image, you would think they, with something as big as those smokestacks, that they would have put it on the map.
Yeah, and I'm still, see this rail,
Yep.
this dead end rail right here? I'm
Yeah.
still looking for that rail in the photograph. Come on, Ross, keep going the
Okay.
right direction. I'm still looking for that rail. I'm hoping, oh, sorry, I did something wrong there, didn't I? I'm still trying to get photographic evidence. God bless America. There we go. Still trying to get photographic evidence of that. Let me focus here. Okay, what the hell is going on? Just a minute. Okay, zoom in again, Rossi. Let's try down here. Maybe we'll get it down here. No, I'm not seeing any rail over there in front of that yet. Or could this dark spot be it? This dark line right here. There's a dark line here and a dark line there.
Well,
Just
you know,
hard to tell.
Hard to tell.
this is the beauty of the era, is that, you know, you have that one very long rectangular structure on the map,
Yeah,
and you can make this building for that. I mean, you know, there's so much conjecture, there's no solid evidence. You know,
right.
plausibility is all you need. And
Yeah,
because this is where I went a little bit too far looking at Atlanta from a prototypical standpoint, and it really made it
Mhm.
more difficult for operations. So plausibility is plenty fine.
yeah, yeah. And everybody can have their own, you know, as a result, everybody can have their own opinion and go after it after that.
And it makes it
Okay.
great for a conversation piece.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, let's move on. Now, I have further evidence for this, Tom and DC, and I think it's a little more definitive than before. All right. These are, Walter, look at these two sections in the photograph to the right. Here is a V connected to this V. So you can call it a W.
Walter left. He had to go to another meeting.
Oh, damn. Okay. Nonetheless, this photograph over here is on the opposite side of a single rail. Okay. This is a single rail down here. There is no evidence of a double rail down there whatsoever. You can see a platform or dock, whatever you want to call it over here, raised so it can meet the cars or flat cars or whichever ones are being utilized, the house cars or flat cars. And this is taken on top of a battlement on the south side of the O&R line, and these are north of the O&R line. This picture to the left, I believe, is taken on top of this, of the apex of this section of the battlement on the opposite side, the north side of the rail. Because note the hill-like shape of the battlement in the back is a near perfect match over here. Here's that same chimney, or is this chimney there? Yeah, the chimney is here. Here's that chimney. Here is the house. Here is that house.
Yeah.
Here, I believe, is this house, because this chimney is behind this house, as in this picture here. So we have a beautiful matchup. Now, where is this in relation to the layout? Where is this in relation to the station or the junction? I believe this to be east of the station. Let me go back and explain why. Let me go back to a picture that will give us clarity on this, or what I think is clarity. Okay, that's not going to do it, Rossi. No, damn it. Okay, all right, here we go now. All right, I'll use this one for right now. These battlements right here. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. Rossi, you did it again. Yes, I talked to myself too much. I'm sorry, gentlemen. Oh, shit. All right, let's try again. All right. I believe the first picture to the right, the first picture that was to the right, where I showed you there, the close in was on top of the battlement, the line, and then the W battlements are right here.
Okay.
And so here's the double battlements that effectively form that W I was talking about. So I believe that picture, the one to the right was taken here. The one to the left was taken at the apex of the fortress there, across the main O&R line.
I think
Anybody else would like
you're
to-
looking the other way on that one.
Say again,
I think
VCR.
I think the camera would have been above them looking south.
Okay, so you're saying the camera would be over here looking south?
No, the camera would keep going up in there, up in that area somewhere, I would think. Well, not that
Okay.
far north, not that far north.
Oh, you mean right here?
Up just a little. I was thinking maybe in there.
Okay. The reason, okay, I'll explain the reason why I disagree with that.
Okay.
The first one, pardon me, the first picture I believe to the right was taken here because the track is right below it. And the second one, also facing in the same, come on, Rossi, give me a moment here.
Oh, I see what you're talking about now, Roger.
Okay, good. Okay, so the camera was here. The picture was taken in this direction.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
second picture, the camera was here, taken in this direction, the same direction again, just placed further down the battlements line, north of the main O&R line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if those were Confederate emplacements, that would make sense.
Yes. No, I don't have rock solid proof evidence that that's where that photograph was taken, but it's very plausible.
If those were Confederate entrenchments or positions, that would make sense because they'd want to place, those were gun emplacements, and they would want to have the cannon facing north. So that's where the Yankees would come from.
Yeah. Yeah. So I believe they are the Confederate ones.
I stand corrected, sir.
No, not a correction. I just explained why I theorized which direction they were. Okay. Let's move back to where we were. And we made it. Once again, first camera shot, heading northwest across the main O&R line to the battlements north of it. And then since this barrel formation looks very similar to this mess here. That's why I picked this area for the second camera shot. Once again, Rossi, once again, heading northwest. Okay.
Good.
Now, and you know, I gave the map so I could quick refer to it. Now, I went to the Manassas Junction here. This is a photograph taken in 1860. To the right is a photograph of the 1862 Manassas Junction with the sidings very near where the Confederate Railroad turns north. This is an the one to the left, the photograph to the left is an 1864 Manassas Junction photograph of almost the same area. The right-hand picture, you will see a snub turnout to the lower right here, just below the cars, behind the telegraph pole. And in the picture to the left, that's just out of the picture down here. You will also take note that this platform is out of the picture too. This battlement is, I believe, here's where the photograph was taken. Here's the junction once again. Here's the battlement. I believe the photograph is taken on. Here's that snub switch I mentioned. And here is the lower southern siding. Here's the OR main line, and here's the northern siding. Southern siding, O&R main line, northern siding. Take note in the 1864 picture to the left, right here. Come on, Rossi, do this correct. No, unless it didn't happen. Hang on. Zoom. Now touch it. Look right there. It's a dead end. Look up here. This track clearly comes into, I barely see the evidence, but right below the water tower here in 1864 is a snub switch right there. Come on, there it is, right here. Dead end, lower siding, main O&R, stub switch, upper siding where the cars are here. Lower siding, dead end, O&R, snub switch here, upper siding.
Yep.
So that's what, wait a minute, somebody's saying something, go ahead. No, that's background, okay. All right. So I would put those behind this area. Now, I have the blow up here. Once again, here's the battlement down here. Camera facing down the line this way, so on and so forth. Now, I decided that since I have a line going to Centerville, put some Centerville pictures in it. I picked the ones I liked with the prayerful hope that this is the line right here on the picture to the left. I wonder if it is, I can't, oh, come on, Rossi, please don't do that. No, wrong way. Zoom into it, click. I don't know. It might be, might not be, but it's nonetheless Centerville. So let them know that one of the lines goes to Centerville, okay? All right. Now, these pictures, I was really happy with analyzing the one to the right with Tom and DC there, because we were able to determine, maybe not with perfect certainty, but this is the upper, once again, going back to the 3 sightings at the junction area. I believe that most probably this is taken on the north side of it. It might be taken on the south side of it. I mean, that's, I'm just guessing. There, everything seems so nice back here. When on the junction side, we see a lot. I think we would see a lot more buildup if that picture was taken to the north. So I think we're north of the track, facing southwest on this picture. This is the northern sighting. Here's the main O&R line. And just down here, you see just the top of what looks like more dark railing and the lower dead end lining on south of the main O&R. Let's go to our reference pictures. This top one is the north sighting, middle, and then the south sighting. North sighting, O&R, south sighting, dead end. Oh, come on, Rossi. Yeah, blow up. So I would put this at the junction as well. This one, we determined, notice how there's a platform here, just in front of the tents. It's clearly angling toward this upper battlement again. Note, there's cars on a track over here. These 2 lines meet somewhere up here. With that, we determined that this picture was probably taken somewhere maybe on top of the battlement or in line with the battlement or near it. There's that, this could possibly be that platform. There's the battlement raised up. The trains are on the line down here. Those cars are on the line down here. And the picture is taken somewhere over here, heading in this direction. Let me go back to that. And this could be, look how close this track is to this entrenchment area. That might, though this is a guess, but it might place the camera either here or there, facing down the line here in this direction. After all, the platform's there in that picture. That might put the camera somewhere up here. Who knows? But it looks like it in my mind. Of course, I may have made myself believe that. I'll be honest with you. But man, it looks like it. And especially that raised battlement right there. Any questions, guys, please? Are we still out there, DC? How many people have we got here?
Oh, quite a few.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
we're here.
Okay, good. Sorry for asking. I can't see the participants right now. We're almost done, and I'm really, really sorry this is taking so long, but I'm almost done here.
Can you go back one?
Yes.
Look, I meant to the previous photo you were showing. That
This one?
Yeah, I'm trying to determine if it's camera angle, but it looks like the main line is slightly elevated. Oh, to the one on the right is the one I'm looking at.
Okay.
The main line, the image on the right.
Oh, my apologies.
Okay. It looks like the main line is slightly elevated to the two sidings. It's hard to tell.
Okay. All right, DC, we talked about this before, and I am incredibly glad you brought that back up. Look at the 1864 picture of the three of the northern siding, main ONR, and the lower siding. This is clearly, that area over here is clearly lower than this, than the main ONR line. The northern siding is very close to the main ONR line. This is a little further down, but that may be the perception because it's physically lower than the main ONR and the northern siding.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. To confirm what you're saying. Where am I going, Rossi? Is that no? Yeah. Okay.
Roger.
All right. Yes. Tom.
Can you go back a couple slides?
Absolutely. Let me know when to stop, Tomo.
Okay, right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't know. I came in on this kind of late in the, I just got here a few minutes ago. But anyway, I don't know if it'll help or change things because I don't know the perspective of where it's at. North, south, stuff like that. But if you look at the shadows on the guys,
I'm sorry, Tomo, you bleeped.
roughly 11 o'clock.
Tomo, repeat,
Yeah.
because you bleeped out. You bleeped out for a minute. We couldn't hear you.
Oh,
Start again.
sorry. Okay, I'm looking at the shadows on the guys, and it's
Right
fairly
here?
short shadows,
Yes.
kind of leaning towards the tents. If you look at them, in other words, the sun's coming, from our right or left-hand side? In the
Okay,
back?
sun from here to there, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that helps at all as far as the location where the camera is, things like that.
If we knew what time of day, it might help.
Yeah, and if I said the short shadow, it's 11
Yes.
or else like 1 o'clock, something like that.
The shadows go in the same
somewhere just
direction in
around
both
noon.
images.
Pardon?
As I just said, the shadows fall in the same direction in both images.
Okay.
So,
That's interesting, DC. Look at this right here on the right-hand photo in the lower left-hand corner.
yeah,
There's the shadow. There's the tie.
yep. And look at the figure shadow as well. The one who's
Yep.
standing in the middle of the tracks.
If this line is heading west, if this over here is west and going this direction is east, it's an evening photo, right? No, it's a morning photo because the sun would be in the east, sending the shadows to the west, correct?
And you'd be looking from the top of your layout towards the aisle.
Yeah, north of the, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yes.
Because north would be to the lower right-hand corner, south would be to the upper left-hand corner,
Yes.
east would be to the upper right, and west would be to the lower left.
I would say the opposite if it's the morning. Because the sun, yeah, if it's the morning, it doesn't matter, man. That's semantic. Yeah, I get the principle you're bringing up here. And I shouldn't get so damn picky about it. My apologies.
Okay. Well, it's something to think about later.
Yes, without a doubt.
Good point, Tom.
Yes, Tom.
Well, you gotta use what you can find.
Precisely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that gives me a different perspective of these photographs that I frankly have not thought on yet. So thank you.
And I was looking at the left-hand photo. And the short shadows and stuff.
Tom O.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. When you speak, only speak at your microphone, and don't move your head, because when you move your head, you fade in and out, and we don't hear you.
Okay. I'll probably have to buy a new microphone eventually. So I'm using
But when
a
you don't
computer.
move your head, we hear you.
Okay. Anyway, I was looking at the left-hand photo more. Shorter shadows, the time of day, and stuff like that. That's what I was looking at. But you know, shadows can help. You know, figure out where it's at or whatever.
Agreed, Tom. And that's why I am grateful you brought that up. Thank you. All right, all right. So once again, I believe this is the circle upper portion of the same battlement as I keep talking about, that is right here. I believe this picture is taken very close here, because we don't see these tracks, straight across to the battlement. This picture. And those are, yeah, it's just a double picture of the same image. And this, I'm not wholly sure where the one to the left is. Here is a track line right over here to the upper right. It's an upper battlement. It might be on the other side of the line to the north of the ONR junction area here, or this could be north or even south of this of the battlements that are east of the station. Let me explain that. This one could be one of two things. It could be a battlement over here, which we have no evidence of. Okay? Or it could be the battlements to the east of the station that I showed earlier, that are 100 slides to the back there. But I'm not sure. But those are the photographs I found. I'm sure they're nothing new for anybody who's done photographic research. And of course, I would place these behind the junction fortifications. There's another junction. There's another fortification picture of this fortification that's out there too, that I chose not to use because it didn't have the railroad in it like this one. And that's the partition. Now, how am I going to line these up on the partition? I'm not fully sure yet. I don't have them all lined up yet. The order I showed them in is probably not the final order. Just to be clear on that. And that's what I've done so far to prepare for the building of the layout. No, I don't have any table work or anything like that, but I have a feasible plan that just got improved today by 2 superb suggestions from, first of all, I had DC's help. Then I had Tom's help. This morning, George stepped in. And then Dave Borton stepped in and gave superb suggestions that's going to change this. And now I have total plausibility to blame all 4 of them when everything goes wrong. Touchdown, Rossi. Gentlemen, I want some feedback here. I don't want, good job, Raj. I'm going to shut you down right now. I want something you want to say. I want something on your mind. Please say it. I'm a big boy. I won't wet my pants, or at least on the Zoom meet, you won't see when it happens. No, seriously, guys, I really would appreciate some frank talk.
Here's another thought. We were talking about trying to hide your staging set, your hidden staging section with a ridge. Why not hide it with a slightly moved embattlement?
A good thought. Perhaps. Wait a minute. Okay, now, George, you're dealing with Roger Thomas Rossi here. When I'm looking at the map, okay, here's the junction, here's the Confederate Military Railroad, right? You're suggesting that up here, the turnoff is where things will get blocked off. Notice, north of the station.
Yeah, there isn't much there.
There's no battlements. No, can't do it. Sorry, George,
Okay.
I won't. No, no. But what I can do is that this portion fits to the track. And as I go north here, I gradually raise,
The landscape.
since that is low hill country in Manassas, I gradually raise the terrain.
Right.
So somewhere above here, it'll just be raised. Let's say the partition is right here, and there'll just be this hole, or a gradual, I can shape, I don't have to have a hard cutoff there. Just be a gradual over, like you see it going over a hill. There.
You've got the topo map that you showed us at the very beginning.
Yes.
That shows you how the terrain actually laid.
Let's go to that. Well, yeah. And actually, this is a part of the topo right here. Let's see if we can get clearer on that. Sorry, I'm gonna have to go pretty far back here. Keep going, Rossi.
Okay, and Roger, keep in mind in the final, as we discussed at the very beginning of our conversations,
Right.
IMFRR.
IMFRR.
It's my something railroad.
Right? That's right. Okay. Yeah, there's, it looks like, shit. It looks like it actually.
The elevation does rise there.
Yeah, it does rise
lowers.
there. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe between this line and this line, that might be lower. I'd have to see the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
maybe what I can do is get a topographical map of approximately where the station was and go from there. But I think that'd be a lot of useless nonsense. I'll just do it and be damned, because George's idea is just way too freaking good. I'm enamored with it. Yeah, so basically the lower ramp here heading to a higher area here, so the trains can just be back there, or a train may be back there. Lovely idea.
Actually,
We'll see if it can
go down and up.
Yeah, I think it does. Oh well, such is life. We'll
But it
say
doesn't
that this side over here is higher than this lowness over there, and live in that fantasy world. Okay. Please, anything, guys, anything else?
Yeah, if you could just become a little bit more enthusiastic with this, because it's putting me to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Well, guys,
No,
I'll be happy to shut it down here. No problem.
Tom should be moved to the top of the list of blamees.
Yeah.
Of
yeah.
what?
Blamees.
What's that?
Oh,
Those
relax.
who share the blame.
Who shared? Oh no, DC, I'm sorry. You remain at the top of that list.
Bingo.
You're stuck there, buddy.
Bingo. There it is.
You were the first moron to volunteer. That put you at the apex of that situation, my friend. You can't get away from that. You will have the honor.
Yeah.
The dubious honor.
Oh, most dubious. Now, I'm responsible for my railroad. I'll be happy to kick myself in the ass for the rest of my life for it. No problem.
I think it's great that as we were going along here, everybody was giving you their input.
Yeah.
Because too often, maybe Tom can delve on this to greater length. We find that, especially with Civil War railroads, we don't have the same. There's fewer of us. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the more input we can get in terms of design and the balance between scenery, operations, prototype fidelity, the more that we can have discussions and input, I think it's the better. So I think this has been a good session.
I'm totally in agreement, because through this discussion, you guys have helped me solve problems that I didn't even know I was going to have. With the new, with that new double line that Dave suggested. Well, I mean, first of all, it fits with the prototype. Just because it's on a curve, oh well, but it still fits with the prototype, and it solves the problem he was concerned with. He didn't say, oh, Raj, that's a problem. No, he said, Raj, here's a problem. Here's how you can solve it. Boom. Thank you very much, Dave. And so, thank God we're solving problems I didn't even see coming at me.
Well, that's the intent for this version of our meets, where people can bring their ideas and what they're trying to accomplish, and use the brain trust of all the members to not only provide some solutions or suggestions, but to feed the motivation and the inspiration, because it's, especially since we're all so remote, we don't have the luxury of a lot of either local clubs or divisions or what have you of the NMRA where they can meet regularly. we're pretty much sequestered, solo.
Right.
And, when I'm alone, these things just keep me going, and it's like, it revitalizes my energy and my motivation. So, I'm glad to see that this is working for you, Roger. You did a really nice job putting this all together, and your dedication to having it, be presented in a way where it would be interesting and fun for us as well as you. So thank you. Hats off.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. I'm gonna hang DC and I here for just a quick moment here.
Good.
The DC factor is the seed for this. DC was my safe conduit to begin collaboration, guys. We've got to do more of this. And me and DC, I think we're going to try. I think we need to come up with a whole thing about just collaboration. And George, Dave, stand by. You might get caught in it because you guys helped in that collaboration too. I think we need more collaboration like this. And I know that, God, that sounded like a Democrat, didn't it? Anyway.
Don't go there.
Yeah, exactly. But seriously, man, this has been tremendously beneficial for me. If you think you guys got something out of this, I've got a freaking better layout now. Screw y'all. I'm the freaking winner here. And I get to blame everybody for it. I can't lose.
The only thing that
I
scares me,
think you're doing it at the right time of the process too, because with Tom's layout, we did it after the the track was all laid and everything. So you're doing it at the right time. Right time, Roger.
I share an observation.
Please.
If you go back to the contour map.
Will do. Give me a moment, Joel. There we go. Oh, sorry, Joel. Give me a moment. There we go.
That one, yes. You're wondering about the slope of the ground.
Sir, yes.
Observe. Above the word "and," you have a hilltop of 320 feet.
Okay.
You
yes,
have a
we do.
hilltop moving to the upper left with no number, but you have a fortification there.
Correct.
And then you have a hilltop with a fortification of 331 feet.
Yep.
If you follow the radiation of the lines going out from those hilltops, you'll be going downhill.
Yes.
So if that helps you with your contours and whether the land's going up or down, those three hilltops could be your reference.
Joel agreed. And I'm looking at something here. Over here, look at this snake-like feature here that is not as smooth as the contour lines. Is that a run? A creek, a run, a stream?
I would guess it could be because it does not complete as a contour line. But
Which
if
line
you
are you
follow it,
talking
it
about?
crosses the track.
Shit, it's a stream. There it is. Look at this picture.
Yeah, there you
It's a
go.
stream. Yeah, it's a stream, by God. That means the stream will be lower. That will be the base area of that section. Okay, Rossi, hang on for just a minute here. Think back to where you were going with that. Let's go back to the contour map now.
Yeah,
there's
water flows
there's the
downhill.
stream. Okay, hang on. Crap, where was that contour map now? Oh, back this way. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so there's the low point of the land because the stream is there. This is raised over here, low point here, raised back over here. There's a valley. Not a valley, but
A depression.
a depression. There we go.
Hey, Roger.
Good spotting, Joel. I didn't see that.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Thank
It
you.
looks like in that curved section that you're gonna, the new siding you're gonna put in, looks like you
Siding.
might be able to justify well, I was trying to figure out how you could work a bridge in.
A ridge. Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
not ridge, bridge. Bridge for the track to go over a short bridge or culvert of some kind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it obviously does from the topo map.
yeah. Maybe it's time to screw the topo map.
Well, the water
Because,
goes under the tracks near the station area.
I'm sorry, yeah, it does, which means there's a raised area there, which I don't think I even want to play with.
Oh, that would be cool. Cutting into the styrofoam and making a little stream. Oh, that'd be so cool. You don't have to do it right away, Roger.
Yeah, I'm not sure what DC, to be honest, I'm not sure what you just said.
If you lay your track on the styrofoam,
Right.
okay, it's easy enough to, after the track and everything's laid,
Yeah.
to cut away the styrofoam to get the stream that you like.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you have the space now underneath the track, and then you actually can build your track or your bridge or whatever type of piers or whatever trestle work underneath from the top, from underneath the track to the new lowered base for your scenery for towards the stream. You don't have to
Right.
build it from the ground up. With styrofoam, you can build it from up to the ground that you've
Right. I think I get what you're saying there. That made it clear. Thank you. I'm looking at the topo map again, and I'm going back to George's idea. Raj, why don't you put battlements north of it? Well, guess what? Guess what's north of the station? Yeah, they're going to be a little close, aren't they? It's an idea still, because look at that. It's north of the station. I don't know. We'll see. Got to figure that one out.
Would be interesting because the battlements are up there facing the track, and let's say you moved them down, then you could actually have, so you're looking up and you can model the emplacements themselves.
Yeah.
Whether you want to use Quaker guns or regular artillery. And so you can, it's like you're looking from inside the gun emplacements out. So that could be cool, Roger. That could be very cool.
That might work. That will, and let's face it. It's just a part of the interpretation. Does it make you happy? If it makes me happy, you're damn straight I'll do it, and then go with it. Man. Oh boy. This has been fantastic.
Yep.
And it's been 2 hours.
Yep.
And it's probably a good time to go, huh, guys? Anybody got anything else to say? First of all, man, I'd still love to hear any feedback you got. Don't hold back, please. I'm begging you.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Good. Thank you.
So
Hey, good,
Roger,
Roger.
one question, Roger, this is Vince. So how long how long was this process? Just curious, from when you started really digging into it to now, and then when you think you'll have trains running?
And Vince, that.
Oh, I just
basically
was
blew my
curious.
mind.
I just was curious when you.
Oh, how long?
How long? I mean, just the process, because interesting case study.
Okay.
And it looks like it's not, it's manageable project, and it looks like you can grow it also if you wanted to, both scenically because you have a theater production, and also in terms of operations or size or things like that. it's almost a nice little article in itself. You did a very nice job.
Well,
You did no.
appreciate
See the
that.
mute there. And
Appreciate
by the
that.
way, on the staging yard, I was thinking of the term that Disney uses called a berm, right? If you think about Disneyland, they'd always have berms to hide things and the way
Yes.
they'd, so your theater background in the spirit of Disney.
There you go. Yes.
There you go. Justify it as a berm.
Hell
Anyway.
yeah. Yeah. Well, but I would use the language of the battlement or redoubt or whatever those Confederate fortifications are called. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
that's fine too.
I would have to say this took me real, serious thought. Yeah, I'm going to do Manassas. Now, how am I going to get this done? I've been mulling over this for about a year. Yeah, straight up a year. And quite frankly, the lion's share of it, probably 75% of putting it into concrete, has been in the last 2-3 months. Really. I mean, when DC and I had that conversation, that put the pedal to the floor. Yes.
That's better. Perfect.
Did that work?
That's perfect.
Okay. God. Yeah, I may know how to get to a layout, but I sure as hell can't get through the Zoom meet. Yeah. Sorry about that. Well, guys, I think it's probably best that we cut it off here. I'm really glad Tom was able to make it. He's seen this twice, and I think he was more interested in it this time than he was the first time. And I couldn't shut him up while we were in that one. So that was great. So Tom was totally disciplined today, guys, I'm telling you. Dave, speak up more, so help me God, so we can hear the pieces of brilliance you've got, man. You sit back and you're very quiet, and we know you've got a brain because you've shown me way too many times. Don't you dare keep that mouth shut. Thank you so much. George, thank you so much. Tom and DC, you already have my undying thanks. So, okay, gentlemen. Well,
My pleasure.
let's see if I can get us out of here.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Don't end it yet, Raj. Don't end it yet.
Oh, okay. That's right, Tom. Yeah, gotcha.
I want to stay on with you. Good
Yeah,
to see
yeah.
you all. Thanks for showing up. Have a great weekend.